Peace and welcome to the Atlantis School for Gifted Youngsters. Thanks for watching and subscribing to our channel.
We're communicating from almost like the four corners of the earth right now. Ken actually brought us all together. So Ken, so what was kind of like your determined idea for having this forum with us this morning?
Yeah, well, we're still waiting for Chase Iron Eyes. Hopefully he's not sleeping or something. But I felt like everybody's on quarantine right now, and the world out there is moldable right now. It's pliable, So by the time we get out of this thing, and there's going to be a new world, new rules, new regulations, new culture. We should all have some input, and our ideas should be implemented into what that looks like. So, it's just a meeting of the minds to get different ideas and to discuss things. And, we're recording this so we can release it and have people listen to it that maybe need to hear this at this time.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think like just right off of the top, what has been everyone's assessment so far? Like, what is one thing that they've actually learned from this self-quarantine? What are they thinking about in terms of that?
Well, for me, it's how much power you don't have, okay? Because the simplest thing was, okay, we're gonna have the stores open until 5 o'clock. And after 5 o'clock, if you're not X, Y, or Z store, you got to shut it down, okay? And people complied, which to me was incredible, because it's like, okay, well, if you don't comply, what happens? We never got a chance to see what happens because everyone complied.
Yeah.
So, and for various reasons, there's going to be some resistance. Okay, it's just you got your street element, you got your knucklehead element. I mean, what have you? Now, it's going around in the areas, going to stores or at one point, I work at the airport. I was considered essential personnel. I had to go to the airport. And at the time that I go to the airport is like the rush hour. And I was amazed of how vacant all the roads were. Okay? Usually takes me 15, 20 minutes to get to work, maybe 25 minutes, 10 minutes. Bam.
Where are you located?
I'm located in North Philadelphia,
Okay.
And is the southwestern tip of Pennsylvania. Of Philadelphia. Okay. That usually would take me during regular hours about 20, 25 minutes to get there. 10 minutes. No problem at all. Okay. Just amazing, because they could say things like that and people would immobilize to that mandate that quickly. That was amazing to me, because in your everyday encounter, you know what you're encountering and you know how people feel. Okay. And this is despite how they feel about whether it's real or not. Now, that's amazing to me. Even if they didn't feel like it was, there's certain things they complied to. They complied to right away, and I found that an amazing control of power, amazing display of power for me.
Yeah. Can see that to repeat it every day, day by day, to make the people afraid of something, and you can bring them in any direction. In Germany, it's the same, like you told me now. But my father, he has a small bungalow in Sweden, and he said Sweden doesn't do anything. In Sweden, you are free. You can walk. You can do what you want. They don't have like rules, and nothing happens. So can you imagine that? The coronavirus is not a problem in Sweden. So you can see there has something else behind it.
Whoa.
What do you think that is?
My opinion, it's just my opinion. It's like a test, you know. They want to see how they can change the people's mind and how to control them. And behind our backs, they can make new rules, new laws that no one check. Like in Germany, it's not allowed that you have that they say you are in quarantine. Yeah, you know, it's in the law. It's not allowed. They can say we want to please you to make it, but you don't have to. You know, because it's democratic. But right now they change everything. So also the police come on the street, and if you're outside with some strangers, you get a bill, like you have to pay 500 euro, you know?
We have something similar here.
It's crazy. And yeah.
Yeah. What's amazing to me though, like I said, because I work for the city government, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And I also work for the Department of Commerce. That's two sides of things that bring in my income. And with the Department of Commerce, the money comes from the airlines. Okay, so now we come to a point where they say, well, what's essential personnel and what's not? Now, prior to this situation, what was essential personnel was those, when snow comes, when you have snowstorms, et cetera, we would do all of the shoveling of the snow and removal of the snow. Essential personnel would participate in moving snow. When this originally happened, they said, okay, well, all essential personnel will have to show up. So we all showed up. So then it got to the point, well, money that is used in order to pay the employees to show up comes from the airlines. Well, not too many people are traveling. So then they started to say, okay, well, we can only take this but so far. So now they had to cut down the numbers. So they cut down the numbers, and now the people who are paying my income while I sit at home, now that comes from the city of Philadelphia instead of from the airlines. But once again, I've been considering what you were saying, Rene, but at the same time, I'm like, how big is this tab going to become? You know, I've been home for a little bit more than 2 weeks now.
Yeah.
Me too.
And, you know, I'm just one person, you know, and I'm just thinking about multiply that times over a couple of thousand people that work at the airport. That's a pretty big amount of money to be spending. I mean, if you're millionaires or billionaires, maybe that's not that much money. I can't think that big, but you know, as far as finances are concerned. But at the same time, I do believe there's more to this than meets the eye.
Must be, right? Must
Yeah.
be. You know, before we even get into the economy, because I can see you starting to slide into the economy aspect of it. What I think is interesting right now, just as like a social experiment, is that people right now are forced to be with themselves, you know, and typically they got a million distractions. They go to work, you know, they hang out with their friends, all of that. And now their homes, which for people like us is a sacred space, you know, like I'm a hermit, so I got no problem being in my house. I work from home, you know, like everything that I have is at home. But now are stuck in their mind, you know, it's almost like solitary confinement for some people. And they're going crazy, like, when is it gonna end? Make it end. And it's like, it's not that bad.
Right.
It's not that bad, but because they haven't done any kind of spiritual practice, you know, they don't have any kind of discipline, those people, which is a lot of people, they're having a lot of trouble with this. And I think, you know, that sort of reflects in society because, you know, obviously society's been sick for a long time. And, you know, a lot of people are saying like, well, when it goes back to normal, and it's like, well, first of all, it's not going back to what we understood. And second of all, normal. There was nothing normal about that. You know, not for us, not a natural way of living. What we're looking at right now, you got all of these hot topic issues in society, like, you know, there's been so many different mass shootings, right? And most of the time, those mass shootings take place at schools, churches, the mall, concerts, and it's like they want to put out in the news that there's no real tie-in to all of those incidents. You know, that if there is, it's like a Muslim extremist or a white supremacist or whatever. But the real tie-in is that a school is an institution where you're forced to learn one way that may not be your natural way of learning. A church is a religious institution that, you know, sit down, shut up, listen to what you're told. And a mall is all consumerism, you know? So it's like people, now that they're in this cooking pot, you know, and they're percolating in their own homes. I mean, just from our city in Niagara Falls, you could feel the tension in the air. You could feel the electricity because people in Niagara Falls don't like to be told what to do, and they don't like it. And so right now that we're sitting in our houses, I could feel out there, first of all, there's a lot of people who just don't give a shit, and they're just collecting and gathering in groups. There's been like mobs that were fighting at the gas station, and you know, they're waiting 100 people in line for ice cream, you know, and it's like they got it, you know. So if it comes to that point where we see the National Guard roll in and start to assemble and do what they do, even if it has nothing to do with crowd control, it's going to become crowd control because some people, and it only takes a small handful of people, will see that opportunity. And so now that they're sitting at home, psychological exercise for them, some of them are going to break because they've never been forced with that before.
Mm-hmm.
Well, first of all, most of what you're saying, I definitely concur with. Okay. However, I think particularly in this area where I'm at, I think people are kind of, they feel the way that you're saying, but I don't think they'll press it as much. And the reason why is because in the course of my lifetime, we have seen those type of things get handled. And you don't want that.
No, we're right now, the stage is set in Niagara Falls because we just went through a whole war, a whole political war, a whole socioeconomic war between the state, the governor, and the city, and certain factions within the city. So, you know, I'm not speaking.
No, I didn't get that impression. What I was trying to impress on you is another aspect of what you're saying. Like, I see people not doing as much as what they're supposed to do, but it's almost like there's a line here. Don't cross it.
Yeah.
Okay? They know that there's a line there, and you have daredevils that'll come all the way up to the line.
Mm-hmm.
But they won't cross that line because they know what happened. They haven't had experience what happened, especially Philadelphia with the MOVE incident and riots.
We just had a armed standoff last week, and
Wow.
in the same time they busted a bomb factory that was rigged, and it was a house that was rigged to blow. And we got all these abandoned buildings where there's bomb factories, chopped up bodies, you know, like that was just 1 week. You know what I mean? So if this is going for another 2 months, I'm not asking for it. I'm just saying I could feel what's in the air.
Yeah, because it's not even summer. It's not even summertime yet. It's not even actually hot yet. You know?
Right. Sunday was the first time that I've actually I've been in the house because I've been creating and doing other things that I need to do. So I've never been afraid of dealing with just myself or dealing with just myself and my wife. That's never been a thing for me. That's actually, like you said, I'm a hermit at heart. So that doesn't bother me. But when I went outside and started to see how people act, okay, and how things have changed since this has been on, that was amazing to me too. You know, estranged. I felt estranged from personal contact and not sure how to engage. Something that is simple as passing people on the street becomes a little awkward now, you know? And I'm like, wow, so much of this can happen simply by someone. I mean, I don't want someone to bring the thing to me personal enough to say, like, one of my family members has died from this for me to accept that it's real. So far, you know, you hear about celebrities and people dying, but it's, once again, it's a little bit removed because it's not a personal thing. I comply because I accept that it could be as bad as, or could be even worse. But at the same time, in the back of my mind, I also take it as an experiment to see just how, as you just mentioned earlier, to see how people are going to respond to stuff.
One of the things that I've experienced is something similar to what I experienced after September 11th. So following September 11th, I was in New York City. And typically when you're in New York, people are they don't even really acknowledge the people that's around them. They're just kind of in their own thing. They may not speak or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Right following September 11th, people were literally looking at one another and speaking. They were acknowledging one another.
That is amazing.
And it lasted for a short period of time. It's back to the way that it used to be in New York at that time. But I'm also recognizing the same thing that's going on right now, at least in the environment that I'm in. Because for the most part, I'm usually indoors creating, but I strive to go to places where there is not a high density of people, maybe the park or out to like a forest, you know, where I go hiking. In the process, I may come in contact with some people, and people that typically don't speak or look at you or acknowledge you, they at least do that now. And it seems like even though there is that social distancing, underlining it, there is this sense of humanity there that I think people are starting to really recognize. One of the other things that that I do appreciate about this moment is I think across the board, people are starting to see now that there is no eyes. There is no wizard in the eyes. And it's been like this curtain that's been pulled back to just expose everybody.
Yeah.
In terms of what's important, what is really essential, not even just essential workers within our society, but what's essential in life itself. And I think that some people have a hard time really grasping that and dealing with the reality that your life doesn't have to revolve around entertainment or sports and play or all of these other different things that are not really significant, because there is really no wizard that's in the eyes. And those of us who've already understood that, it hasn't been that difficult. But I think just looking at the majority of the population, who we refer to as the 85%, who've always been blind, deaf, and dumb, they're grasping the reality now that, hey, I'm the one that has to be in control of my actual destiny. And I can't really rely upon the 10% of those who are in these positions to dominate the resources, the institutions, and the overall economy. I can't really rely on them anymore. I have to really think for myself. And I think it's scary for a lot of people. But like what you were saying, Ken, it puts those of us who have already been thinking like this and have already been evolving and developing those aspects of ourselves to be the ambassadors of this type of paradigm shift, to write the narrative of what we're going to see once this new culture or this new idea of living emerges from this place that we're in right now.
Yeah.
So I've been thriving in a sense, because I've been seeing this coming for a long time. I didn't know that it was going to happen this way, but I've been preparing for this.
Yeah, to add on to that, a couple of things, because, you and I collaborate artistically, and, all I do is stay at home and create. I got a million different props sitting in my studio right now, and projects all over the place that I've been working on for years, And so as somebody that works in the entertainment industry, first of all, you mentioned that like everybody is so glued to their TVs or their favorite sports team or whatever, just how we shape the world through movies and TV and music, that's something that, when I said that reality is pliable right now, we have an opportunity to make a big change. Now, why would we let politicians and CEOs and corporations and billionaires decide for us what that's going to look like? Because obviously they haven't had our best interests at heart, with healthcare being big business and all of this. And, like I want to throw it in, because Rene just got off of Big Brother Germany. So for 5 weeks, he was stuck in a TV prison where he couldn't even take a shower. So now he comes out of that into a quarantine.
Oh.
So I want to throw it to him.
Yeah, it was a good experience. I made it because in my life I'm a yoga teacher, qigong teacher, kung fu teacher, and I help people to get healed. I do a massage and everything. And in my life, everything, like maybe in your life, is positive. I have positive people around me. I have enough time every day for myself to meditate, to do everything. And I started to thinking I need something new. I need a little bit pressure, to see if my tools work also in a situation like that. So I just decided, okay, why not? I can try. They choose me, and then I was in that prison, and everything started to get weird. The people behind your back and so. And at the first 2 weeks, I could heal. I could make a good harmonic space could create, and everything was like in love, and the show was like not good. Not many people looked it because it was too much harmony, you know. Yeah,
Wow.
that's true. No one wants to see people that are happy, you know. And they try to push us. And always, if they try something, I said, they just want to give us pressure. Let's be strong. Let's be like connected. And the first 2 weeks it works. Then they gave us nothing, not too much to eat. Really, like 800 calories every day, and I lost 7 kilograms. So it's a lot, you know. And in the next 3 weeks, I had really less to eat, and I got more quiet, and then I said, okay, I have to use my tools, and I meditate every day a little bit and do my lessons, and I got centered. But the TV show, they don't show me. They show all the time the other people, but not me, because they saw I'm too strong, and everything they tried doesn't work. They couldn't break me. That I go behind the backs of the others and talk about, and so and then the other candidates, they decided they go together, and because I'm too strong, they decided that I have to go out. You know, I went out and I saw everything everyone thought about. I was boring because I do all the time. I do my meditation stuff, and the Sat one, the TV show, he tried to act like that's funny. I'm like, you know, crazy spiritual guy, you know, but that doesn't matter. Then I came out 1 week before the quarantine, and I was laughing because I said, now from one prison I'm in the other prison, but it was like, for me it was just an experiment like this. Now this for me it's a gift, you know. I have time like you can to do things that I always wanted to do. Since 2 years, I want to write my book. I want to do some projects, online projects, meditation stuff and everything. And I didn't find the time. All else was more important. Yeah, I had to pay my bill, of course. I had to work. Now, nothing, no work, no money, no income. I have pressure, you know, and I have to think about different. I have to think about what the people needs right now. Advice. They need people like us that help them, that give them strength, motivation, and everything. And like you told before, Ken, people have to change their mind. It's also like a really big spiritual step for all of us. We can change a lot of things. Our family comes more close together. Our friends, old friendships, like maybe you made the same experience. They call you after several years. Hey, how are you? You know, and they remember.
You know, what you're saying too, that I'm hearing it talking about when you were on Big Brother and people were looking at you like, oh, this guy's strange, you know, because you're going within, you know, you're not a TV personality, you know, realized, you know, what's wrong with him? He's not acting like an ass to get more ratings, and then they start trimming you from the show. Well, right now, people that are stuck in their house, they're like, how am I supposed to express myself? You know, like, how are people supposed to know that it's me, you know? And so for people like us who, you know, like Life was saying, he's just creating, you know, it's like, we're all doing that because we have gifts and we've been working our whole lives to hone our skills and sharpen our talents. For people that have never even thought about what their talents and gifts are, you know, they depend on everybody else for everything, for entertainment, you know, for everything. And, you know, we give that to the world, and artists, big time, especially just like in America, artists haven't been valued like we should be. Like if you go back to like Renaissance times with Da Vinci and Michelangelo, you know what I mean? Like they had benefactors who'd be like, yo, you could paint like that, oh, okay, you don't have to work. I'm just gonna set you up and you just gotta give that to the world, you know.
That's a key point. Because that's the other thing that I think about too. We're quite centered in what we do, but I am under no stretch of the imagination to believe that what we do can be represented on the outside world of no larger than 15% of the whole population. Most people, when they look at the world as it is, they'll say, okay, it's where people are gone. Very few people would like to acknowledge how much of it is indoctrination, how much of it is learned behavior from watching shows and looking at other things. I was in the library because before I worked down here, I worked in the libraries. And I was on a crew called a conversion crew that took the library's resources and stamped them and cataloged them. So I got a chance to look at a large amount of books. And one of the things that I found real fascinating was right for reality TV.
Yep.
If that's not an oxymoron, I don't know what is. If it's reality TV, you're just supposed to be able to film it.
It's all fake. It's all fake. Yeah.
Here they're telling there's rules for writing for this to make it seem as though it's real.
Yeah.
So right now, I think we're being stripped down to what's essential, what's not essential, how self-contained you are. And I've done mentorship for a long time. And the most important thing that you have to remember about those type of situations is how willing is the person to receive what it is that you're giving.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, people say they want freedom, but they're absolutely afraid of the freedom.
Right.
Okay? Their brand of freedom and what obviously each one of us are doing something that's disciplined. You're enjoying it. It's fun, but it's disciplined. Folks don't know what to do with themselves with all of this freedom that's here. Actually, I think the next chain of things of people going to go stir crazy. Yep. Okay? With the freedom that they say that they want. Okay? For us, I hear straight across the board, everyone's saying they have things that they already want to do. They never had the time to do as much to take care of these things. So now you got this extra time, you're taking care of these things, okay? And you're content with that. But we don't represent a large group. And even if you show other things that people can do, they have to be willing to accept it. They have to be willing or looking for that in order for it to resonate with them. You know, yoga, meditation, that's looking for it. You know, obviously it's got a place in my life. It's got a place in Renee's life. I mean, it's no strange factor to you, no strange factor to Saladin, because we're already on that wavelength of trying to find, exploring things in an off the beaten path type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we have to be aware that the value of that is not as big as it would be for us. You know, definite world, it's not as big as we would want it to be.
I still feel like there's not enough time because I got a 1-year-old son. And, you know, I still got chores and, you know, daily activities. And it's like, man, like I'm working on my book and then I'm working on movie projects and I'm on the phone doing conference calls all day and I want to spend time with my wife. you know, and it's like, what do? Do you not sleep? You know what I mean?
Normally we have not enough time for work. That's the point.
One of the things that I wanted to go back to that I mentioned, I talked about how the masses of people, I like the 85%, the blind, deaf, and dumb, and on each side of that mass, you have 10%, you have the 5%. And one of the things that I've also been seeing is people striving to take advantage of the opportunities that are coming out of this self-quarantine, but not in a positive way.
Right.
So I've seen people going and not only hoarding toilet paper and other different resources that people need and then marking it up 300-500%, but you all also have people who are hoarding gold and silver bullion, that are hoarding ammunition, right? But then at the same time, I'm also seeing people who are into homeopathy, who are into teaching people the use of essential oils, or teaching people the benefits of making sure that you cultivate your own land, or growing herbs, or doing things also in a positive type of way. So I think that there's also this exposure of a cultural matrix that has been underlining this society that we're also beginning to see right now as well, where you have the Mr. Smiths and the Mrs. Smiths that's out here looking at how they could take advantage of the masses of people. But then you also have those of us who will be likened to those who have the consciousness that's striving to bring some more beauty to this world and fix the things that we see that are broken. And I'm glad to be in the company of all of you, because this is, like I said, something that I've been invested in for a very long time. One of the things that I've been telling people for years, is when you have your home, you have to create your sacred or your creative space. You have to have that at home. You have to have it, so that at 3 a.m, if you wanted to get up and do some writing, or if you are an artist, if you wanted to get up at 4 a.m. and you had an idea and you wanted to make it manifest, you have the space to be able to do that. And I think people right now, a large majority of people, never created that space in their own home. So and think about the children. Think about them with all of that natural creative energy. And like what you were saying, Ken, about percolating, or you have this level of energy that's building up. A lot of that is from our youth that have not been invested in for so long to have these type of creative spaces in their home, or even other different avenues for them to express themselves. And I think a lot of people have been overlooking the fact that that segment of our population is dealing with a lot of duress at this particular moment, just simply because they're out of school. They don't have that type of atmosphere to congregate, which is natural for them at that age. And then you put them in these homes a lot of times where some of the students that I teach or I have in my after school program, like I'm worried about, because I see how their parents or guardians deal with them just in an environment where they're not even in the home. And I see how they talk to them and deal with it. And I'm like, man, I you know, there's going to be a lot that goes on in regards to that as well. And that's one of the things that I've been actually striving to do in terms of creating animation and other different programs, particularly for youth, because I understand the type of environment that they're in right now.
We're in an environment that tells you what you should do with your life.
Right.
Okay. And as maverick as a lot of people may want to act, they're absolutely clueless to what to do if they were given the thing that they're fighting for.
Yeah.
I see straight across the board here that all of us have found our release valves. We've learned how to go into something in which we enjoy, get the most satisfaction from it, self-fulfillment from it. Okay. And we're able, and we know how to control it. We know just how to set it up. And I know in the course of the people that I come across, that's a very small number that has any release valve whatsoever. That's why so many people are stressed out. And that's why so many people are seeing psychiatrists, psychologists, because they don't know how to manage. Interesting enough, Saladin brought up the point about these other systems of nutrition, homeopathy, that sort of thing, and people are getting more involved in it. Immediately when this happened, where I went with this was there's going to be a breakdown in the structure. That if this is what you say it is, you're not going to be able to treat people. Okay? And some people are going to have to learn to treat. I've been a vegan for 43 years. Okay? So that way of thinking to me, that I'm going to have to take care of my own health, that I'm going to have to work with my own immunity system, that I can't rely on making it into a hospital, for example, or looking for somebody to take care of me or try to stop social unrest if it happens here. My mind is already going into how do I prevent that from coming into my living room, coming into my space, or relying on someone else to take care of me. And I think that works straight across the board with everyone that's speaking right now. At the same time, that's very futuristic for a large portion of the society.
Which is crazy.
Exactly.
Because now that this is dissolving and all that structure that everybody feel that they need, now that it's all dissolving, there's something there that's much older that has always been there. You get what I'm saying? Like there's a more organic, more natural way of living that the ego at large has thumbed its nose at and laughed at, and like somebody like Rene, they looked at him and like, he's a kung fu master. But they look at him like, you've been a vegan for 43 years. It's like, what's wrong with you, man?
Exactly.
I'm
Exactly.
since 10 years, 10
Mhm.
years. And in Big Brother, in that show, I couldn't eat vegan, of course. I said, okay, for that time, I eat what I get, no meat, but anything else. And I had. If I wouldn't change, I had nothing to eat, So it didn't change my mind. I'm rich in my whole life. I had no money, but I'm rich inside. And after that, also after that whole experience with the crisis, people or many of them will maybe see that they have everything they need. They don't need another pair of shoes, another big car or something else. They don't need that. They need something from inside, like a real hug, not like hug you because maybe I can get something from you or something, like from the heart. I think that is what it's the positive thing on the whole crisis.
Yeah, and now you're slipping back into the economy, so we can talk about the economic effect for a second, because money, as we know it, the jobs that are being lost, the stock market, everything that's just collapsing right in front of us.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a skill, if you have a trade, that's where it's coming down to, is to be able to trade. So like Rene was saying, like, they think, well, I'll do this because I think I could get something for it. And the energy exchange, that's occurring right now. After this is all said and done and the smoke clears, the value of being able to create with your bare hands That's going to go way up. Intellectual properties right now, stockpile them. Because when this is all said and done, Hollywood came to a screeching halt, and you're talking about a mega conglomerate of billions of dollars with, you know, millions of moving parts and contracts and unions and productions and various stages of production. And you can't make a film because you can't have 1,000 people on a backlot. So you can't just take a giant machine like that and hit a stop button. There's a major loss that's happening. And at the same time, everybody's at home and they're watching Netflix and they're watching Hulu. And so one market's going whoop, and the other one's just in peril. You know, it happened before. It happened once before in the early 60s, late 50s, in the golden age of cinema, when all corrupt, and then Scorsese, Coppola, Spielberg, you know, George Lucas, they all came out of college, and, you know, the big conglomerates bought the studios and then hired these college kids. Like, okay, let's flip a coin and see, you know, maybe they could revive it. So what Saladin was saying with the youth, well, these kids grew up with YouTube. They grew up with cameras on their phones. There's about to be some major stars that come out of this thing. You know, people are at home and they're thinking like, what can I do to pass the time and entertain my friends? So they're making videos and they're putting them on the internet, and there's going to be a handful of those kids who become sensations just because people are bored.
Mm-hmm. I have to concur, because the ones who can actually do something or manage that personal space in a creative way, they're going to be the ones that excel. When you mentioned Lucas and you mentioned, I immediately remember that I was a college student at the time that Star Wars first came out. And I remember that phenomenon very well. I think when you see the movie Toy Story, most people miss the essence of what that's all about. You have the cowboy and you got the spaceman, okay? And right then and there's a line that's drawn between baby boomers and Generation X and what's more current. And it's just that literal, because when you mentioned Star Wars, the phenomenon for me was Star Trek. That was a huge phenomenon. And look how long that was. And look at the way that Star Wars approached space as opposed to Gene Roddenberry approaching space. Yes. Okay? He actually changed the game for everything that came before that, because before him, you have to go back to Flash Gordon.
Like, there's people at home sitting at home bored right now going, right now.
Exactly. One of the things that I've been seeing.
The thing that we learned about is who and what caused this to happen. Because the other thing about this creativity that we have is it has to be enhanced. If it's self-contained, which is what we're doing right now, self-contained entertainment, that's one thing. When you take that into a bigger scale, then it's like, how do you get to, and that's where those elements get a chance to come back and manipulate the situation. That's when those elements call a shot. I think it's very, very political, and people think political, they usually think about government and they think about army, They very rarely think about the business world as being the behind the scene element. Then when you talk about politics, they don't think about the fact that here in the United States, we have a president who said, I don't want to finance my campaign. I'm going to finance it myself because I don't want any partners. Okay, people don't realize how huge a statement that was.
Mm-hmm.
That was an incredibly large statement.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because most of the presidents before him, they had plate dinners.
Right.
They had deals that they made, and big business was behind them. He was saying, I'm going to do this myself. And he carries himself like that. He's done some incredible things that I've never seen any other president in my lifetime do. Not good things, but you know, it just shows a certain amount of autonomy.
Yeah.
You know, and it's amazing. And people say, well, how can he get away with this? How can he get away? I'm like, simple. He's got the money to buy it.
The psychology.
Yes.
Yeah. One of the other things that I've been seeing too, in terms of what you were speaking to, Ken, about skills, is earlier this week, I had to get a couple of documents notarized. So the banks, their lobbies and stuff are closed down.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no notaries that you have access to. And Governor Cuomo here in New York just recently signed an executive order to make it possible for people to sign and get documents notarized virtually. So you have to do a virtual teleconference or interaction with the person that's a registered notary. And you can scan the document and send that to them. And then from there, they'll be able to sign it. And then after that, and you verified that information, now you could actually mail the document to them and then get it actually notarized and everything. They had to actually create that in order for a notary to be able to legalize documents. And I'm sitting there thinking like, man, if there's a person that just was a notary right now, they could use that as a business. Yeah. And make their services available to the public, because people don't have a way of being able to notarize their documents. Mm-hmm. You know, so I'm starting to see a lot of those instances where people that may have had different certifications, mm-hmm. or they may have had certain skill sets, that now those skill sets or certifications have a real value to them that they may have not recognized under other different circumstances.
There's something for everybody, you know, like people got to chop the wood, people got to carry the wood, people got to build the fire, people got to watch the fire, people got to catch the fish, people got to cook the fish. You know, there's something that everybody can do. The problem has been that people have become dependent. People are indoctrinated. They become dependent on, and they don't know how to do any of these basic life skills.
Right.
Mm.
Right.
Yo, even if you consider it on a spiritual level, these houses of worship are not allowed to meet in person. So think about that. Like, your life may have revolved around you being able to fellowship with people that share your religion, if you're a Muslim or a Christian or a Jehovah's Witness or any of these other different belief systems that people are connected to. They're not able to meet. So what is that really saying in terms of your true relationship or connection to this source or this higher power? I think it's forcing people to question that now. Like, do I actually need this intercessor or mediator between what I define as the creator or the higher power and me being in this space of where I'm at right now? Do I have access to that just reading my scripture?
I think that with Black folks is a long time coming, buddy. I think that'll be the last bastion that people will let go of, because that has been indoctrinated so well into folks that if you are a quote unquote religious person, that's an operating system that would be the last thing you'd let go. You would rely on that when everything else is falling apart. You would rely on that. That would actually make people run to it rather than run away from it.
Yeah, good point.
Because, you know, I was raised up in a Christian household, okay? And my parents came from the southern part of the United States, Bible Belt part. So that's like clank, 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 hammered into your psyche, to believe externally, not internally. Okay? Even though the elements are there, and I know because, like I said, I was raised up that way, the elements are there to tell you that it's internal too. But the program that is behind the book is more indoctrinated into you than the actual reading and understanding of it itself.
Thou shalt not.
Right. Right.
I think that if people can find their niche, that they can definitely utilize a time like this to help enrich a person's experience religiously. Because you think about some houses of worship where it's more interactive, and that is really the weight of how they engage that doctrine.
Mm-hmm.
Now that you don't have those type of spaces where you have that density of people, maybe the emphasis needs to be on Bible study or studying the Quran or any of these other different holy books that will help enrich a person's actual experience and their connection to what it is that they strive to have a sense of union with, as opposed to just simply gathering with a group of people and it being just simply interactive and it's all about the emotional content of what it is that you experience and more of the intellectual investment in what it is that you're learning. So I think that if you have different people who are able to take advantage of this niche and say, hey, you know, we're going to have a little bit more virtual Bible study or virtual Quranic study or some things along those lines, I think coming out of this, people can have a much more deeper and possibly even an esoteric perspective, like what you were mentioning in life in terms of the inner type of reality, more of an esoteric perspective of what it is that they've been learning about.
Oh no. Yo, I gotta throw out a disclaimer real quick. None of us are liable for what this man says.
From outer space, look over on the side of the screen. Okay, Chase, what's going on, man?
Time, I guess. Just an hour.
How you doing?
Chase, yo.
I'm not sure you guys can hear this loud vehicle I'm in. I got this big truck that looks like it's like a farmer, rancher, hillbilly reser kind of thing. You know what I mean?
What are you out there running from?
Well, I'm not doing anything right now. I'm just coming. I had to go take a trip to we have like a local dump ground. We just take our trash over there. But good morning, man.